Final Fantasy XVI is right around the corner and I couldn't be more ready for it. It's not often that a game release gets me feeling like it's about to change my entire life. I know I may sound over the top, but I'm being honest here. But I just want to talk about it and share my feelings I have for this game. I want to talk about why I think this will be one of the biggest and best releases to happen this year, and possibly go down as one of the best Final Fantasies in the franchise, and I can barely keep myself away from the demo. The levels of exhilaration I have is off the charts, so let me have your ear for a bit as I chat about why I'm excited for FF16. For those that may not know, Final Fantasy is a legendary anthology of video games that started out way back in 1987. It's a game series that has grown and changed with the evolution of gaming itself. They've been telling amazing stories, introducing us to iconic characters, and mesmerizing our ears with musical compositions for a lifetime. Forever changing and experimenting with new systems and gameplay along the way as well, spawning numerous spin-offs in various gaming genres and extending over into other mediums like movies, anime, and novels. It's now 2023 and the 16th mainline game is upon us. FF16 stars new protagonist Clive Rothfield as he seeks revenge for what has caused him to lose his family and kingdom. The game takes place in a fictional world called Valistia that is home to multiple kingdoms, utilizing magical crystals and powerful entities called icons. This time around, the series has decided to take a more mature route, diving more in dark fantasy story elements and adapting the most hands-on action RPG combat system the series has had to date. They brought on massive talent to bring this to life, including the likes of Naoki Yoshida, producer of the acclaimed Final Fantasy XIV, Masayoshi Soken, composer with numerous accolades, including Final Fantasy XIV again, and Ryota Suzuki, veteran Capcom action game designer with credits on Dragon's Dogma, Devil May Cry, Onimusha, among others. Now, as exciting as all this is, when the initial announcement trailer was revealed, I wasn't too thrilled. Despite knowing Final Fantasy's medieval past, I didn't like that that's where this was going. It just reminded me too much of Final Fantasy's recent shift to a much more Western-influenced aesthetic. The gameplay shown did impress me, as I'm a huge action game fan, but I knew all too well from 15 how good-looking combat could end up not playing as well as what you're seeing. But as time went on, I started to get more convinced as names were revealed on the project. My big turning point was with the release of the trailer titled Ambition. This trailer introduced us to the world and its kingdoms and people, and that was how I was finally grabbed by this game. I started going back and reading articles and rewatching old trailers and became obsessed with every detail I could find. I was officially sold. Fast forward and we were finally able to get our hands on the demo for the game, and boy do I mean it when I say this exceeded any expectations I had. I mean, just look at some of the moments from my stream. Did he just get crushed?
Second icon of fire. That's impossible.
Oh my god, did they just burn? Oh my god, this is so good, you guys. You better fucking not. You better fucking not. I swear to God, come on. Oh my god. Oh, we can unlock stuff. We have a crap ton of points. Dude, you guys. I don't know, man. Do I do this right now? Dude, he looks cool as hell like that. I don't like that. Oh, she's doing this again? Oh god! Whoa, she's crazy! Hell yeah, okay, it's time. Get some of this. Some of that. I like how we can see the meter so we know. And we gotta get some of that. And then try and get one Titan in, please. And maybe another. Maybe another. No! Okay. Kinda-ish. What in the world? You better not. No! Come on! I haven't played a game that has made me as speechless as I was while experiencing this in a long time. Perfectly showcase the type of game this will be. You can feel the focus, love, and attention to detail being put into it. The game looks and plays gorgeously. Character animations are great, the combat is silky smooth, and the music. Soken is on fire with this soundtrack. Every single song heard throughout this gave me goosebumps. The presentation was top notch as well. I loved watching the characters move and talk on screen, as well as how clean the menus looked. Even during gameplay, the UI is not as invasive as it appeared in the trailers. Everything is displayed clearly and doesn't overstay its welcome in combat. Throughout the prologue portion of the demo, you have limited access to abilities, but after finishing it up, you get the icon challenge part, and this is where you get a taste of the true combat potential. In this part, you now have access to 3 different icons and their abilities and skills: Titan, Garuda, and Phoenix. It's pretty awesome to have the freedom of mixing and matching every time I ran through this part of the demo. Though it is stated that in the full game you will not have the exact same sets by this point. Speaking of, the combat is everything I could have wanted from a Final Fantasy with full control action gameplay. The Devil May Cry influence is definitely present and felt, but it really has its own unique flow. You have precise dodging mechanics, basic combos and extenders, parries, and special skills you can initiate to do higher levels of damage. There's also a stagger mechanic in the game that allows you to crush the will of your enemy and put them into a state in which you can do multiplied damage that results in a final damage boost to the enemy. You can also launch magic blasts at enemies as sort of a projectile. There's an ability grid as well in which you can upgrade and level and eventually master your icon abilities, giving you access to various boosts and perks. Mastery usually results in the ability to attach any icon skill to any icon slot, which is pretty dang cool. This leads to the ability to really customize Clive to suit each individual's playstyle. Combat in 16 is very fast and fluid. Through my time with the demo, I was able to pick up the basics really fast and already started to learn various ways to chain together skills to dispatch enemies in a much quicker rate. Everything from switching between icon sets to toggling between item shortcuts and Torgal commands is very intuitive. As far as AI allies go, they seem really helpful. Sidolphus and Torgal both accompany you in the second demo, and both can be seen actively attacking and even finishing off lower level enemies. Also, commanding Torgal is very simple and responsive. What I love most about the combat is that it's not just a button mash fest. You could sit there and attempt to do so, but some enemies will eventually tear through that and you will get punished. Same for spam dodging. And though it doesn't seem too detrimental in this demo thanks to the gear that you have, it really does interrupt the flow, making you want to take a step back and try approaching in a more thoughtful way. And when you do, you get rewarded with some of the best combo executions and it feels and looks stunning. Going back into the menus, the abilities are laid out in a very simple way to understand, along with many clips to show you exactly what you're unlocking. You can use your points to upgrade and then eventually master each ability, which in turn gives you new perks such as a further reach or more power. Mastery will allow you to actually equip abilities to whichever icon you have equipped. For example, if I mastered Phoenix's Heat Wave, I can now attach it to Garuda's set. This doesn't seem like much, but when you consider the combo capabilities such as being set on Phoenix, being able to use Phoenix Shift anytime while utilizing something like Garuda's Gouge without having to change sets, it could be a game changer mid-battle. This freedom is what's making FF16 such a standout action game for me. In the demo, we also got a taste of different stages of the iconic battles that will occur throughout the game. First in the prologue with Phoenix versus Ifrit, and now in this part with Clive versus Benedicta. And sadly, even though we didn't get to see her fully transform, we still got one heck of a showdown with her. These bosses do not go down easily, and you have multiple phases and stagger opportunities before it ends. There are really nice cinematic transitions between them, some of them having a quick QTE to be completed, but what I appreciated is how the same QTE isn't repeated multiple times. A good example is how she would use ramble-y as a cinematic the first time, but it outright becomes a normal deadly attack if she does it again in the fight. The fight felt like the perfect mix between cinematic and in-game gameplay, creating what should be an epic encounter with such a powerful being. All of these things just add up to an incredibly solid and gratifying combat experience. If all of this seems too overwhelming, they've included multiple accessories that aid the player in order to make the combat less of a hindrance, mainly for those that want to just enjoy the story. Things like auto-dodging and healing are amongst the accessories you can equip. I think this was a good way to add some simplicity for folks versus adding an entire easier level of difficulty. I think it's a better design choice to give people the option of making individual elements easier for themselves so that they can freely switch up what they feel helps them, instead of making everything as a whole much easier. I haven't personally tried any of these out myself, but they are there and have to be noted. Just some little fun things I picked up on while playing the game that I really appreciated. Every time you pause it, you get treated to adorable pixelated sprites of whoever's in your party at that moment. The other neat detail is that no matter what Clive is doing when the game is paused, it will zoom into him, and when you navigate the tabs, it will rotate around his character model. I just love little design choices like this, and having a unique menu design is always a plus. The other thing, which I somehow missed initially, was that there is a photo mode via the touchpad, but only if you are currently on the Attributes tab of the menu. And let me tell you, this may be one of the most bare bones photo modes I've seen in a game, but the game is so pretty that you can come out with some really awesome shots from the crazy lighting and detail. Of course, I could go over the story, but honestly, it's worth experiencing on your own. The prologue is so intense and really establishes the darker tone this entry is shooting for, and it left me dying to know more and how things will play out. I'm very invested. The world building will be strong with this one, especially with this new special feature called Active Time Lore, which can be accessed at any time and will display details about the current story and characters so that you're always caught up and aware of what's going on. This is genius, as it can be quite confusing keeping note of all the new information that's being spoken at you. By the time it was all over, I was in complete awe. I am genuinely afraid of how much I might end up loving this journey we're about to embark on. I was obviously eager before playing the demo, but I was shocked at how much better this turned out than I could have ever imagined. And yes, I am fully aware that this game could end up falling flat in the story and crush all of my hopes, but as of now, I'm holding on to the belief this game might be near perfection. I said it at the end of my stream, and I still feel this, but I think Final Fantasy XVI is the beginning of a somewhat Final Fantasy renaissance. This game made me feel how I felt whenever I started a Final Fantasy from the older years from the first time. That sense of wonder and curiosity about a brand new setting and its characters. The suspense of the unknown and the anticipation for what's to come. I felt like a kid again. And if I'm being honest, if this game really turns out to be the masterpiece they are trying to make it be, I really don't know how they'll top it. But if they do, yes, I believe this will be the starting point of a new age of Final Fantasy going forward. Something else I wanted to hit on is the whole internet discourse around the game. And what I mean is the talk about 16 not being a real Final Fantasy. And the main reason seems to mostly be because it's not a turn-based Final Fantasy. Now, I don't want to get into this too much and argue it, but instead I would say, if you think this, you should go back and look at what Final Fantasy really is. This series' identity has never been solely defined by being turn-based. Yes, it started out as such, but it has always added systems to slightly change things up. And not to mention, there's so many spin-offs under the same title that explore multiple genres. So to say FF16 is not a real Final Fantasy because it's an action game is pretty wrong. Every Final Fantasy is different in its own way, and this is just another one to add to that list. And that's the joy of Final Fantasy in general. With each game having its own identity, you can pick and choose which one to play and fall in love with, and not really miss out, and that's okay. Another thing is being upset about it adopting this playstyle. I feel like 16 is getting attacked on this pretty hard, mostly due to coming off an already action-focused Final Fantasy 15. Many people probably figured that was a one-off thing and didn't expect them to turn around and actually go even harder into that genre with this next entry. I completely understand how one would be upset that a franchise you love is veering strongly into a different genre of gameplay. A personal example for me that's a reverse of this scenario is the Yakuza Like a Dragon series. I love the Yakuza series, and being the action fan that I am, I fell in love with it for its beat 'em up, light RPG mechanics, awesome story, characters, and content. And while I have played a good amount of turn-based games, they aren't my first preference when it comes to gameplay. So you can imagine how I felt when I was faced with Yakuza 7 going full turn-based combat. I too felt that betrayal, and even at one point was very hesitant on even buying the game. But my loyalty to the series won out, and I bought it. Played it, struggled, and ended up loving my time with it. I even accepted the fact that I might not even finish it because that's usually what happens when I touch this genre. But it felt good to actually put my prior feelings aside and be rewarded for that with a fantastic game and a memorable experience. So what I'm saying is, for those who don't want to play 16 because they feel similarly to how I felt about Yakuza 7, I say maybe just give it a try. Change is always hard to accept, but good things can come from it. And they're doing things to make the transition enjoyable, such as adding those special accessories. It's perfectly okay to have a preferred playstyle, but it's also really refreshing to try and step out of those boundaries for a new experience that could change things for you. The demo exists for a reason. Try it out and see, and don't just write it off or state it as a non-Final Fantasy because it's not what you want it to be. Now is just the time for me to gush about everything. I am absolutely in love with Clive. On the surface, he seems so tough and gruff, but after playing the demo, you get to see he has so much of a softer underlying self that I can't wait to see explored. This man is going to be put through so much, I know. As the protagonist, I find him very likable already. There's little moments with him showing some charm and some where he seems so lost and sad. He seems to be a very relatable guy. I love that we will be experiencing multiple stages of his life as well. Aside from his traits, he's just so dang cool looking in battle and design. Of course, I couldn't forget the adorable Torgal, who is going to be such a treat to have as an ally throughout the game. Other characters we've seen are very intriguing as well. All of them seem to have their own motivations and beliefs. All of the dominants we've seen so far feel like fleshed out characters that have real reasons for existing. The way they demonstrate the power of these individuals as well as the icons is astonishing and terrifying. The world of Valistia, from what we've seen, has so much to look forward to when it comes to exploring. A variety of landscapes and regions with different cultures and aesthetics. The combat is so cinematic even when in our full control. The lighting and particle effects are elaborate and add so much intensity and flair to it all. I have so many questions I want answered already. I am looking forward to becoming lost in everything Final Fantasy XVI has to offer. From its visual beauty to its darkest moments, from its cinematic storytelling to its satisfying and well-flowing combat and intense boss battles. I want to fall for the characters and be immersed in all the lore. I want this game to destroy me emotionally. I want to love it with all of my heart. I've been playing games all of my life, and it takes a lot for me to get elated over most games nowadays. I want to feel like a kid again and just be fully absorbed. I hope with all of my being that 16 will deliver to me one of the most unforgettable journeys I will ever have had the pleasure of experiencing. I have high hopes and it scares me. I want this game to change my life, and I hope that that's what will happen when this game comes out. If you've made it this far, I would like to thank you for listening to me share my anticipation and joy for this game. I know it's been some time since I made a video similar to this. Life is hard, and sometimes it's just difficult to find that spark to keep the creativity flowing. Luckily, 16 has become that spark, so please, again, I can't thank you enough for checking out my video. If you like this sort of thing, then stick around, give a like and such, and I'll do my best to try and make more content for you all. Anyways, I hope wherever you are, you have a nice day, and I'll see you again in the next one.